Valerie McDaniel always tried to be an honest, kind person. She had tried to live the best life she could. She was the top of the class and the valedictorian of her 1987 high school graduating class. She was generous, creative, smart, nice, and sweet. Valerie earned a degree in veterinary medicine at Texas A&M University, is a public, land-grant, research university in College Station, Texas. It was during that time she met Mac McDaniel. She met MC Daniel through a friend and thought he was the cutest guy she'd ever met. He is tall and skinny. Their wedding day was a testament to the depth of their love, a beautiful celebration of two souls bound together in holy matrimony. As they exchanged vows and sealed their commitment with a kiss, Valerie felt as though she were living in a fairy tale, with Mac as her knight in shining armor. They had a beautiful fairy tale wedding and moved into a house that her parents had bought her to live in. Not long after that, Valerie decided to open her own veterinary clinic. Mac was her office manager, but even as the vet clinic thrived, the two longed for something more. She was the true definition of her name. Valerie is a name of Latin origin, carries with it a timeless elegance and a sense of strength and vitality. In its essence, Valerie exudes a sense of empowerment and vitality, reflecting a spirit that is both enduring and vibrant, like the ancient Romans who valued strength and health. Unfortunately, Valerie didn't leave a legacy of perseverance and vitality associated with that name. But unfortunately, she left a tale of regret when she got involved with Leon, a man who led her into the path of evil. She never recovered, and the shame left her depressed, and she eventually committed suicide. Valerie and Mac continued to live a lavish lifestyle. They lived a life of luxury, a life of beauty. They had exotic cars. Valerie had a Mercedes-Benz. Her daughter went to a great school. Each of them worked really hard and were happy together. In spite of all their effort, Valerie couldn't have any children of her own after years of trying. They tried many times, but they weren't lucky. So, the only option was adoption. One morning at work, there was a note on Valerie's desk that said, "Dr. McDaniel, call Miss Brown." Miss Brown said she had been Valerie's husband's lover. It was devastating news, and her whole world came crashing with the audacious confrontation and confession. Welcome back to Crime in Prison. Today we're looking at the saga of Valerie McDaniel, a veterinary doctor, and Leon, a doctor, and how the perpetrators of the brutal attack were arrested. By the way, Crime in Prison is a collection of narratives that delve into the world of crime, punishment, and redemption. The best way to support me is by subscribing to the channel and leaving a comment. So if you want to see more stories like this, please hit subscribe. It will really help with the algorithm. Now let's get right down to it. In 2008, the couple adopted a daughter when she was just 2 days old. But as the new family came together, Valerie and Mac's marriage began to fall apart, and it became increasingly difficult to hold the center together. It all began with a phone call from a stranger and claimed to have been Mac's lover, but that wasn't all. She also gave Valerie a list of women that he had been involved with. Valerie's heart was heavy with the weight of betrayal. She confronted Mac with the damning evidence, and when he apologized, she mustered the courage to forgive him, hoping against hope that their love could weather the storm of infidelity. But, as time passed, her forgiveness proved to be short-lived, as Mac continued to cheat on her. It wasn't long before Mac cheated again. Valerie confesses, her voice breaking with the pain of betrayal. Despite her best efforts to salvage their relationship, the trust that had once bound them together was irreparably shattered, leaving Valerie to grapple with the devastating realization that some wounds run too deep to heal. In a moment fueled by raw emotion, Valerie uttered the word divorce for the first time, her voice echoing with a mix of anger, frustration, and hurt. With each repetition, the word reverberated through the air like a thunderclap, signaling the definitive end of a once promising union. Valerie thought she had found it in her heart to forgive Mac once more, despite the sting of betrayal that lingered like a bitter taste in her mouth. But just when she thought they might mend the broken pieces of their relationship, fate intervened in the form of a chance encounter that would alter the trajectory of her life forever. She met Leon, a medical doctor who shared the same alma mater as her. With his background in both emergency medicine and specialties like cardiology and transplantation, Leon embodied a blend of passion and expertise that drew her in from the start. Leon Jacob, the son of Valerie's neighbor Golda Jacob, approached her with an air of unwavering confidence. He extended his hand in greeting, introducing himself with a demeanor that exuded an unmistakable aura of arrogance, unlike anyone Valerie had ever encountered before. When their eyes first met, a silent understanding passed between them, punctuated by smiles that spoke volumes. Valerie looked at him and smiled, and he also smiled back. Leon had this outwardly exuberance of energy that she really can't describe. She fell for Leon. Valerie was in her mid-40s, but she was stunning on both inside and out. The attraction was mutual. You could tell he knew how beautiful and I was lonely. Leon Jacob was 8 years younger than Valerie. He is also a doctor and had performed whether in heart, kidney, or pancreas transplants. Despite the 8-year age gap between them, Valerie and Leon found themselves drawn together by a potent combination of chemistry and circumstance. As a skilled doctor specializing in complex transplant surgeries, Leon's professional prowess only added to his allure, while Valerie's own loneliness created a fertile ground for their connection to blossom. With problems brewing at home and a handsome younger doctor who found her attractive, what happened next may have been inevitable. And he sat across from me, and we had some wine, and I had my leg out on the chair next to him. Just out of the blue, he reached out and just ran his finger up my left foot, and that was it. In that fleeting instant, time seemed to stand still as the electricity of their connection crackled in the air. It was a scene straight out of a romantic movie, an interlude of passion and longing that defied rational explanation. As they basked in the glow of their shared moment, Valerie couldn't help but wonder what the future held in store for them. In Leon, she found not just a partner, but a kindred spirit, a beautiful person both inside and out. As their relationship blossomed, she found herself falling head over heels for Leon. His compassion, intelligence, and the genuine care he showed for others melted her heart. They began to dream together, weaving plans for a future filled with love, laughter, and shared ambitions. Marriage seemed not just a possibility, but an inevitable next step on their journey together. In Leon's embrace, she found solace and strength, and in his love, she discovered a sense of completeness she had never known. Each day spent with him was a testament to the depth of their connection, and she knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that she was madly in love with him. With Leon by her side, the future seemed brighter, and she eagerly awaited the day they would exchange vows and embark on the adventure of a lifetime together. Mac always wanted more at the detriment of their daughter. 6 months after Valerie and Mac's divorce, Valerie and Leon, her younger boyfriend, found themselves contemplating a decision that would change her life forever. She was madly in love with him, and before long they started planning on getting married. In December 2014, Valerie initiated divorce proceedings, alleging adultery on Mac's part. Despite the allegations outlined in Valerie's divorce petition and audio diary, Mac's attorneys remained tight-lipped, offering no comment on the matter. Amidst the turmoil of Mac's alleged infidelity and Valerie's burgeoning romance, both parties were eager to bring an end to their marriage. The divorce proceedings reached their conclusion in August 2016, marking the official dissolution of their union. Valerie and her daughter found a new home in the rich neighborhood of River Oaks in Houston. Leon also moved in with them. Valerie and Leon's relationship flourished rapidly, their happiness evident in their constant hand-holding and affectionate gestures. However, amidst their newfound bliss, an old issue lingered like a shadow. At Mac, Valerie's now ex-husband. He didn't like the fact that his ex-wife was living with another man in her house with his adopted daughter. It was just too much for him to handle. In moments of vulnerability, Valerie found herself in tears, the source of her distress often linked to her ex-husband. Mac's discovery of Leon's presence in her life reignited arguments regarding visitation rights and parenting responsibilities. Leon's history with past loves revealed disturbing patterns, including instances of extreme mental cruelty towards his ex-girlfriend and facing assault and stalking charges. These revelations painted a chilling portrait of Leon as a predator, instilling fear in those who encountered him. His relentless pursuit of his desires, coupled with a willingness to use any means necessary to achieve them, made him a formidable and unsettling presence. Leon's behavior suggested a dangerous lack of boundaries and a disregard for the well-being of others. Could there be more to Valerie's newfound love than she realized? Despite his charming facade, Leon had a troubling tendency to exploit women for his own satisfaction. Leon was raised in the expansive and affluent landscape of Texas, surrounded by beauty, opulence, and boundless opportunities. From the tender age of 3 or 4, he harbored a steadfast dream of becoming a doctor. Throughout his academic journey in the university he excelled. Leon encountered and eventually married his college sweetheart, laying the foundation for what seemed to be a blissful union. Together, they were blessed with 2 remarkable sons who held the most profound significance in Leon's life. Their family radiated happiness and love, their bond appearing unbreakable. With the prestigious M.D. appended to his name, Leon seemed to be on an undeniable trajectory towards greatness. However, behind the veneer of his seemingly perfect life lurked the shadows of a troubled relationship, concealed from the outside world. After 12 years of marriage, Megan initiated divorce proceedings, citing instances of extreme mental cruelty. 1 year following their separation, Leon found himself arrested for stalking his ex-wife. He had brushes with the law involving stalking, cyberstalking, intimidation, physical harassment, and assault. He also pleaded guilty to an attempted cyber harassment charge, which arose from the acrimonious divorce proceedings with his ex-wife. He frequently called his ex-wife, often claiming it was solely to speak with his boys. He insisted that he tried desperately, repeatedly, and persistently to contact his kids. Leon eventually relocated to a new residence in Pittsburgh, where he started a new life. It was there that he encountered Megan Versa, a 33-year-old woman. He met Megan in a hotel in Pittsburgh where she was the assistant general manager. Leon and Megan moved to Houston. They went on extravagant vacations and attended family gatherings together. A colleague from a residency program where Leon worked described him as a failed doctor, noting that he had been dismissed from every residency program due to his belief that he was the smartest person in the room. His inability to cooperate with colleagues and patients alike led the hospital to view him as a potential danger to patient safety and a liability to keep on staff. 3 years into his relationship with Megan Versa, she began to see Leon as a threat to her own well-being. Megan made the decision to kick Leon out of their apartment, accusing him later of assaulting her. She demanded that he remove all his belongings from the premises. When she arrived at the apartment, tensions escalated, leading to the involvement of law enforcement. Despite no physical violence occurring during the altercation, Megan later claimed that Leon had struck her and covered her mouth. Leon's frustration mounted as Megan refused to forgive him and unwilling to reconcile with him. The realization that he couldn't win her back fueled his anger and exasperation. In February 2017, Leon was arrested for assault, a charge he believed stemmed from mere accusations rather than genuine guilt. The district attorney's office has been closely scrutinizing this case since its beginning. Prosecutors are convinced that Leon was aware of the devastating impact Megan's testimony could have on his medical career. They suspect that he orchestrated a scheme to make her disappear, believing that if she vanished, so too would his criminal charges, allowing him to reclaim his perceived status as a beloved surgeon. Prosecutors allege that Leon concluded he needed a hitman to solve his problem, and he believed he had found one in Taz, who was introduced to Leon by a mutual acquaintance. Leon suggested various methods for eliminating Megan. One proposal involved injecting potassium directly into her heart using a syringe, inducing a heart attack that would ultimately lead to her demise. A search for the enigmatic Zach was initiated, prompting investigators to swiftly uncover his true identity as Taz. This name rang a bell for Kubos, who recognized Taz as a former military individual facing a misdemeanor theft charge for stealing from his roommate. Taz was out on bond at the time. He was still free. It took Houston police approximately a week to locate Taz, and that's when the situation took an intriguing turn. Despite his initial involvement, Taz displayed genuine concern for Megan's safety. As it turned out, an undercover officer with the Houston Police Department, operating under the alias Detective Javier, wanted to save Megan's life. Driven by a desire to prevent harm to Megan, Taz agreed to assist in a sting operation aimed at catching Leon Jacob in the act of solicitation for murder. Taz went back to Leon and explained to him that he felt he had grown too close to him and Valerie and thought it best to hire another hitman. He suggested they work with another hitman who would help them take care of the business. They met the following day, and Taz introduced the new hitman to Leon Jacob. Unbeknownst to Leon, the hitman was an undercover detective Javier, but before Taz could hang up, Leon made them realize he was in a hurry to get the work done. He said, "We're taking care of both problems." Taz asked him what he meant by both problem. Leon meant Megan, his ex-girlfriend, and Mac, Valerie's ex-husband. Leon's new girlfriend, Valerie, who was described as a mild-mannered veterinarian, also wanted her ex-husband gone out of this world. Valerie wanted to talk to the new hitman about what she wanted to do with her ex-husband, and they agreed to meet the following day. The next day, Leon and Valerie met with Taz and Detective Javier at this Olive Garden to discuss the fate of both their exes over lunch. The entire operation was recorded. The meeting lasted nearly 2 hours and began with Leon's target, Megan. Leon said he didn't want Detective Javier to hurt her, but he wanted her gone. He told Javier that he wanted him to run her off the road and threaten her. He said that if she didn't understand that message, then Javier is at liberty to do to her what he was supposed to do. There was no doubt in my mind that Leon wanted Megan eliminated. The subject then turned to Valerie's target, her ex-husband, Mac. Valerie wanted whatever happened to look like a car incident, perhaps a botched robbery. She held the belief that Detective Javier would carjack her ex-husband and execute him. She gave her approval, unaware of the dire consequences. Meanwhile, Leon Jacob lurked in the shadows, his mind consumed by a dark obsession. Desperate to rid himself of Valerie's ex-husband, Mac, Leon sought out the services of a hitman named Mazai. With cash exchanged and plans set in motion, Leon anticipated a swift and final end to Mac's existence. On March 9, 2017, Detective Javier reached out to Leon with seemingly good news, urging an in-person meeting. Leon obliged, inviting him into their home, where Javier delivered the devastating update. Mac had been fatally shot in the head. Neither Leon nor Valerie could bear to look at the purported photo showing Mac's lifeless body. Upon hearing of her husband's demise, Valerie's response was simply, "Oh my God, I never wanted things to escalate this far." She didn't show any her emotions. Little did they know, Mac was alive and unharmed. He had posed for those photos as part of an elaborate sting operation to convince Leon and Valerie of his own demise. Leon's focus shifted to Megan next. He instructed Detective Javier to apprehend her, take her somewhere discreet, and engage in conversation to see if she was willing to get back with him or whether she would not testify against him in court. That was the plan. Later that night, staged photographs of Megan, bound at the hands and feet, were sent via text to Leon. Detective Javier informed Leon that Megan had proven to be uncooperative and challenging, forcing them to terminate her life. The following day, at 3 a.m. on March 10, 2017, the tranquility of Valerie McDaniel's 7th-floor condo was shattered by an unexpected and ominous knock at the door. Valerie McDaniel and her live-in boyfriend, Leon Jacob, were awakened by Sergeant Frank Quinn and other detectives. Houston police arrived at Valerie's doorstep. The air grew heavy with tension as they delivered the unthinkable. As she opened the door, she was met by the solemn faces of Houston police officers, their expressions grave and eyes filled with sympathy. Valerie welcomed them into the house, but feigned surprise, as if she couldn't comprehend why they were there. This encounter occurred just hours after Detective Javier, posing as a hitman, had informed her of Mac's supposed death. With heavy hearts, the officers delivered the devastating message. Her ex-husband, Mac, was no more. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud, their weight bearing down on Valerie as she struggled to comprehend the magnitude of the loss. When they delivered the devastating news, Valerie had to convincingly portray to the police that she was hearing about Mac's demise for the first time. She feigned distress, her hands covering her face as she mimicked shock and surprise at the news of her ex-husband's demise. "Have you heard from him recently?" she inquired, her voice laced with faux concern. She gestured to the seat, sinking into it as if overwhelmed by the sudden revelation. Mac, the man she had once loved and shared her life with, was gone. As Valerie grappled with the shock and anguish of losing someone so dear, she found herself engulfed in a maelstrom of emotions. She buried her head in her hand, but no tear dropped. In the quiet solitude of her condo, Valerie mourned the loss of a man who had once been her partner, her confidant, her love. And as she struggled to come to terms with the reality of his absence, she knew that life would never be the same again. But Valerie was not fooling anybody. Police knew it was all method acting. "Is your boyfriend here with you?" the sergeant asked, hoping for his presence to provide so they could also see his theatric act. Valerie called Leon into the living room, and when the police saw him, they expressed their hope that Leon could assist them in breaking the news of his girlfriend's ex-husband's untimely demise. "Oh my God," Leon reacted, his tone filled with shock and concern. "It might have been a robbery," the sergeant suggested, seeking any information that could shed light on the situation. "We want to know if anybody knows anything." "We need your help," he emphasized. Turning to Megan, Leon asked gently, "Are you okay?" He then recounted their activities for the day, stating that they had been at home all night and day, watching movies with their daughter. "We hadn't been out of the house all day, except when the cops decided to call," he explained, attempting to provide an alibi for their whereabouts. Amidst the charade, the police abruptly interjected, "Cut the act. We're reading you your rights because both of you are being arrested for solicitation." Shock washed over the couple as they realized the gravity of the situation. It was only then that they learned both their intended targets were alive and unharmed. "I don't understand why I'm being arrested," Leon protested as he was led away. "Can I at least get a sweatshirt? I'm already cold," he requested. Meanwhile, Valerie's concern shifted to their daughter, who had been asleep in the apartment throughout the ordeal. As Mac arrived to pick up their 8-year-old, Valerie calmly informed her daughter, "Your dad is outside. He's going to take you." The exchange appeared ordinary, masking the chaos that had unfolded. Suddenly, the news flashed the arrest of 2 doctors, a Houston woman and her boyfriend, charged with orchestrating harm against their exes. Leon's pending charges related to Megan prevented him from making bail, but Valerie was able to secure her release. Rushed out of jail alongside her family, Valerie returned home, bracing herself for the legal process ahead. Throughout the week, I stayed in touch, offering constant support through texts and calls, reassuring her with words of love and encouragement. However, the weight of the charges took its toll on Valerie. Her veterinary license was suspended, adding to her burdens. The thought of being separated from her daughter for an extended period weighed heavily on her mind. Despite a visit from a friend at her high-rise condo, I couldn't shake the feeling that Valerie's spirit had dimmed. The spark in her eyes seemed to have faded, replaced by a sense of resignation. 2 weeks after the shock and shame of being charged with solicitation of capital murder, Valerie McDaniel, using her iPad on March 25th, began recording her side of the story. It had only been a few days, but she felt compelled to document her experiences and perspective amidst the turmoil. In her recording, she said she didn't wake up one day and just said she wanted to kill my ex-husband. For her, everything she loved was slipping away. She wanted to talk to her daughter. She wanted to talk to Leon. She said she couldn't continue life the way it was unfolding before her. She said she just couldn't continue. 2 days after her final recording on the March 27th, 2017, Valerie climbed over the railing of her condo on the 7th floor railing and jumped 7 stories to her demise. Leon hired one of the top defense attorneys in Texas who said Valerie was the mastermind and orchestrated the whole scenario. On March 20th, 2018, a week before the first anniversary of Valerie's suicide, this is a state of Texas versus Leon Philip Jacob. Leon went alone trial on 2 counts of solicitation of capital murder. Leon and Valerie wanted to keep Mac away from his adopted daughter, and they needed to stop Megan from testifying against Leon. I have no problem sitting here and saying that I slept with Valerie 7 days after Megan and I broke up. Unfortunately, what Leon was afraid of eventually came to be. Megan, who had filed assault charges against him in January 2017, took the stand and testified against him. She said she tried to leave Leon several times. He stalked her. In one particular incident, Leon went into her house screaming and shouting. She didn't want to see him, so she hid in her closet. He went to her office and hid in the bush waiting for her to leave work. She called 911 to let them know that her ex-boyfriend had assaulted her. At some point, Leon got out of his vehicle in front of Megan's car shouting and pleaded with her to have a conversation with him. Leon was also arrested a second time on stalking charges on February 16, 2017, less than 10 days after that. Megan was contacted by police and warned her someone was planning to take her life. She knew it was Leon, and so she traveled to her hometown, Pittsburgh. The cops asked her to return to Houston to be part of that sting operation. They wanted her to play along with the detective. Leon had contracted the job of ending her life. She was made to sit in a chair in a warehouse. Her hands and feet were zip-tied, and her mouth was duct-tapped. Megan wept. She couldn't believe her ex-boyfriend would go to that length. Pictures were taken and sent to Leon. Valerie's ex-husband, McDaniel, also took the stand. He said they were married for 17 years and divorced in 2016. When he found out his ex-wife was living with Leon, he was not happy because he was aware of his criminal history. He told Valerie he didn't want the Leon around his daughter on the weeks that she had custody of the girl. Later, Valerie changed her mind. She didn't want Mac to be in his daughter's life, and this is what prompted her to agree to the murder plot. Mac also explained how he was contacted about the murder plot against him and how he participated in his own make-believe sting operation. The cops poured a pig's blood to make it look realistic. Pictures were taken, and the detective gave both Mac's and Megan's pictures of Valerie and Leon some hours before they were arrested. Leon Philip Jacob was guilty of solicitation of capital murder on both counts of conspiring to have Megan and Mac murdered. Leon's ex-wife was called by the state as a witness. Annie Morrison flew in from Chicago to testify against him. She said there was a time they got into a fight and he pulled a knife on her. There was another time he pushed her head down onto the counter and bruised her face near the eye. When she was 7 months pregnant with their second child, Leon threatened to punch her in the stomach. He kicked her legs while she lifted her legs to try to protect my stomach. He threatened that if she ever left, he would kill her. He said that nobody would ever find her body because he was a doctor and he had access to chemicals that would dissolve her body. Annie left and moved to her parents' home in Chicago. Leon also started threatening her parents. In a recorded phone, Leon said he would torture her parents in front of her. Annie's testimony was the nail in Leon's coffin. The jury took just 1 hour to decide Leon Jacob's case. He was ultimately sentenced to life in prison on each count. Solicitation of capital murder for Megan and Mac McDaniel. During victim impact statement, Megan told Leon he would never see his children grow up and would not be a part of their lives. She went on to say Leon destroyed her financially and took away her sense of security. Leon Jacob will be eligible for parole in the year 2047. He will be 69 years old. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33 says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Be mindful of whom you associate with." Thank you for staying with me till the end of the story. What are your thoughts on this entire case? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. If you appreciated our efforts, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so now and stay connected with Crime in Prison. By subscribing, you'll receive notifications for more compelling stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video with another true crime story.